you guys. I'm so excited. Gosh. Also, I just gave myself the ick. That's gross. I sound like such a Valley girl, and I apologize. Actually, I have no issue with people sounding like Valley girls. I just have an issue when I sound like a Valley girl. And I don't know why that is, but I just gross myself out. But it's how it's going to be. I have to listen to myself when we do this. That was a tangent. Welcome to the That's More Like It podcast. We're starting off really strong. Why did we call it That's More Like It? Why did I call it That's More Like It? We collectively called it That's More Like It because I had you guys vote on it. But it was one of the names I picked because I want this to be a growth podcast. I want this to be a podcast about the pivot, changing, growing, evolving, all of that, because I feel like multiple times throughout my life, that's been a theme where I've gone one direction and gone, never mind, different way. I'm going to listen to 5 Seconds of Summer instead of One Direction, you know, stuff like that. So I'm going to bring on some really awesome ladies onto this podcast and interview them. And I've already interviewed them because, fun fact, I actually already recorded the first episode of this and then hated it and scratched it and did a little pivot and was like, no, disgusting. Let's try again. Also, my phone wasn't recording when I did the podcast, so it doesn't even matter. The first episode doesn't really even exist in the visual medium. It's a growth podcast. I'm going to bring on some amazing women, talk about their process, how they got to where they are, what they had to change, trials they ran into, and also just some fun stuff. I want to throw in some tea in there, some drama, some gossip. I actually saw an article recently about how gossip's not actually bad and it's important for the existence of humanity. It was probably TikTok, not an article, but regardless, it's going to be fun. I'm going to have a lot of fun. I've already had a lot of fun, and I'm so excited for you guys to see the other interviews that I have done. But we kind of have a structure for this first episode, which is just me. I'm so sorry. Oops. Valley girl me. A little about me. Okay, I started That's More Like It podcast because it's something partly because people are like, you should do a podcast. And then I thought about it and I was like, the thing that I miss about YouTube and I miss with like TikTok and all these short form platforms is that you really need long form to get full context. I miss context. I miss having the time that I need to explain something and to allow people to process. And I just feel like TikToks are so short that there's so much information and knowledge that we're missing out on, and there's so much nuance. That's the word I'm looking for, that you don't get with these short form platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And even with Instagram, you can write a whole paragraph in the caption, but no one's going to read it. But long form, people go there to get the full story. And I want to get the full story, especially with the amazing women I have coming onto this podcast. And maybe men, I don't know. I haven't opened that door yet. Haven't cracked that seal. I don't know if I want to, because then I don't know who I'd bring. And then I feel like I'd have to make it equal or something. So for now, we're sticking with the ladies. Regardless, let's get into our first thing about me. Monica Moore Smith. I started a social media account not really wanting to. I was kind of anti-social media to an extent. I was excited for Facebook, but like past that, I was like, ew, influencers. That wasn't even a concept yet. But I joined Instagram because it was like, you need to do this for your business as an actress. You're a business. And I was like, fine. I joined Instagram. Didn't do anything with it for a while. And then I started posting more and I was like, wait, this is kind of fun. And wait, there's like other people who do the same thing as me. And they're also actors or even just from Utah. And we have similar interests. And this is so cool. And now I'm making friends. And wait a second, it's not all terrible. It's actually pretty great. And so from there, I realized, wow, actually, there is a lot of beauty in social media. And just like in anything bad, there's like bad stuff, but there's also a lot of good. And then I got married, documented my marriage. It was beautiful and lovely. And then it wasn't. And then I got divorced and ended up sharing my story about domestic abuse and my experience with that. And realizing that, wow, I was not alone. And so many other people have experienced the same exact thing. And I feel like I've kind of grown with a lot of the Utah girlies and outside of Utah as well in regards to growing up in Utah, getting married young, getting divorced young, and kind of just how much change you experience going through that. And so this podcast is kind of inspired by the changes that I've gone through and showing and documenting other people's changes as well. Hence, That's More Like It. Got divorced. That's more like it. Started in karate, ended up in a career in acting. That's more like it. Let's start with our Do More segment. Do More is something I used to do on Instagram. The OGs know. Only the OGs from Instagram would know. And I know Instagram's not cool anymore, whatever. That I did this challenge called the Do More Challenge because my middle name is Moore. And so everything's going off of that theme. Do More. All right. Where I did a challenge, I think once weekly or once monthly. That I did along with you guys. We share our experience and see how it changed or added to our lives. So I'm going to be doing that again, but in podcast format. So the Do More Challenge, #Do More Challenge. The Do More Challenge for this episode is making your bed every single stinking day. And I know it sucks, and it seems silly, but it's something that's really good to do. And your life will feel so much better. And on top of it, it's like brushing your teeth. You have to do it. You really do. So we're all going to make our bed every day. That's going to be the first thing we do when we get up. We're not going to look at our phone. We're not going to look at the tiki-talkies. Okay? We're not going to check Tinder. We're not going to check Snap. We're going to make our dang bed and listen to bird noises because it's scientifically good for you. But that's a whole nother story. Anyways, make your bed. You're going to do it. You're going to be proud of yourself. I wish I had some studies to show you why making your bed is good, and I don't. I should have looked that up beforehand, but I didn't. Sorry. Oops. It reminds me of this TikTok. Have you seen the TikTok that's like the TikTok audio that says, turns out waking up early, making your bed, drinking water, and eating healthy does make you feel a little bit better. That's going to be your mantra this month. It's going to be my mantra this month. That's what I'm going to try and do. So, Do More Challenge, make your bed first thing in the morning, and report back. Share with #Do More Challenge. This next segment, More Tea. More Tea is a segment that's going to happen when I just want to share something where I'm like, oh, there's this random pop culture thing or this random bit of drama that is on my mind. It's bugging me. It's bothering me. I got to share it. Okay. So, More Tea. Look, Swiftie fans, I am so sorry. And I'm not a Swiftie hater, but we got to talk about karma. We got to talk about karma with Ice Spice because what the heck happened? What is going on with this collab? I like Ice Spice. I like Taylor Swift. But this song? I'm sorry. I'm like, this is so not it. It's so disappointing. And Karma is such a great song that I'm so... So Taylor Swift put out a song called Karma forever ago. And then recently she was like, oh, Ice Spice is going to be on this track. She's collabing with me. I don't think Taylor changed any of her vocals, but just like threw Ice Spice on there in a random bit of the track. And it sounds so disjointed. It sounds like it was a different, like Ice Spice had a rap to a different song that was thrown onto Karma. I saw a TikTok where someone sped up Ice Spice's verse or the background track to Ice Spice's verse, and it sounds so much better. It still doesn't sound great, though. But it's just like so... I don't know how they released that. I don't know how they heard that and were like, this is fire. This is good. This is karma. Like, oh. And I know everyone's saying that this is recorded before what's his name? Maddie from 1975. The band, 1985. Don't hate me. I don't know the band. I'm not a fan of them. I don't really care. There was controversy because, Maddie Healy on his podcast, like, dissed Ice Spice. And so everyone's saying it's some sort of cover-up or distraction from the controversy because Taylor Swift is now dating Maddie Healy. And I know the track just sounds like unfinished, like it was just like a thrown-out thing. And I know Ice Spice's team reached out to Taylor before that controversy happened, but I almost wonder if they like rushed released it because it's so not good. I'm so sorry, Swifties. Don't hate me. Don't come at me because I know I should really not start off the first episode with like Swift controversy, but here I am. Oops. My bad. That's my tea. That's my more tea for the day. My faves. This is kind of inspired by the Bad Broadcast. Shout out to Maddie. I don't know her in person, but I listen to her podcast and I feel like my podcast is just slowly it's going to become like a Maddie Bad Broadcast fan podcast. Not like in a fanfic Wattpad way, just in like a I just love her podcast kind of way. And so anyways, shout out to her. Don't know how that came up. But she talks about her favorites on her podcast. And so I'm going to talk about my favorites too. Maddie punched me in the face and it was great. I had to get these things out because people will ask me what products I put on my face or what skincare things I use. And I genuinely I don't ever remember the names of things. I can tell you what the package looks like. Does anyone else relate to this? Is this like an object permanence thing? I will never remember the name of a product I put on my face, but I could tell you what the bottle looks like. I could tell you the colors on it. I could tell you I like the shape. I could tell you it was pink. I could tell you it makes my skin really good. But I'm like, I don't remember what brand it is. I don't remember what it's called. I just look it up when I have to buy it again. So this is one of those products. This is called the Ultraceuticals. This is their vitamin C ultra firming cream, serum, not cream. I love this stuff. I hope that's in focus. I love this stuff. This is a skin game changer and I just ran out of it and I have to get more. So sponsor me, Ultraceuticals. Just kidding. You don't have to, but you should. This ever since I started using this, that's when I got all the compliments where people are going, your skin, what are you doing? What's the secret? And I'm like, Ultra C firming serum. Also, the great thing with vitamin C is the best package to get vitamin C in is a pump because you want to expose it to the least amount of air as possible, just so you know. So this is also a great package. It is a little pricey. It was a little spency, but it's one of those things that is worth it. And I'm cheap. I'm a cheap girl. Okay. But there are certain things that I were splurging on. And don't look at the cap. It's disgusting because I've used it all. But you can tell that it's well loved. This other thing I really like, it's called a Fuse by the Original Oil Shop. Happy Focus Essential Oil Inhaler. Look at me literally reading this product off as if I've never used it, but I've used it every day. There's this local, I got a whiff of it. There's this local boutique called the Holy Cow Boutique, and I almost want to gatekeep this because I don't want everyone to go there. And I like going there because it's kind of the secret that no one knows about. But it's a boutique that happens quarterly throughout the year, I believe. And they have all these little local sellers and small businesses. And I just love supporting small business, women-owned small businesses. But there's this new business there that I'd never seen before. And it's the Original Oil Shop, I guess. And they have these little Fuse essential oil inhalers. And I'm so sorry. This is so unhinged. Actually, I'm not apologizing. Okay. If you're watching, if you're listening to this is your fault. Your fault. I ain't worried about it. Okay. Okay. Backtrack. This essential oil infuser that you breathe through your nostrils, it is like cocaine to me. This, if you have a podcast, if you've got a test you got to focus for, if you've got, for me personally, being on set, I've got a scene that I've got to really focus on, or I'm reading from a teleprompter, or I've got a million words a minute. I take this thing, shut up my nostril. Can you hear that? Nostril ASMR, I'm sniffing. I've never done cocaine, but this is what I imagine it would be like, and it's amazing. And if you have kids, I'm so sorry. Should I bleep out cocaine? I don't know. Just tell your kids drugs are bad. I'm not encouraging cocaine. Anyways, this sends a ping to my brain that makes me alert. See how alert I am right now? I'm so alert. That's a fave. That's a fave right now. Faves in regards to TV shows. I just started Succession. I know everyone's finishing it because the season finale, whatever, just came out. I'm not caught up, but I just started it and I'm liking it so far. And it's funny and it's kind of like The Office, but not. And I went in with no expectations. I had no idea what to expect. I just had my friend Matt, he was like, I'm watching Succession and it's about rich kids. And I was like, say no more. I started watching it and it's odd, but it's good. I think it'll get better. The tone is kind of odd, but I think that's kind of the point. Anyways, it is about a bunch of rich kids and it's funny, but it has a balance of funny and serious and it goes back and forth. We'll see how it goes. I'm just in the first season. So any Succession fans out there, let me know if I should keep pushing through because I heard that the finale was really good. I've seen people post on Instagram. Favorites in regards to movies. I haven't seen the Barbie movie yet, but once I see it, it's going to be my favorite. I just know it is. I love Margot Robbie. I'm in love. I've got a girl crush. I've got a girl crush on Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie, if you're listening, I know you're married. I was married once too. Divorce is possible. Reach out to me. Also, Ryan Gosling. I don't know if you're married or not, but divorce is possible. They're just a duo, and I just love Greta Gerwig. Oh my gosh. Speaking of Greta Gerwig, I just watched Greta Gerwig in a movie recently. I'd never seen her act in a movie. She acted in this movie called No Strings Attached with Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher. Horrible movie. Horrible movie. I love Natalie Portman, but that was such a bad movie. Not a comedic actress. It's okay. Natalie Portman, if you ever watch this, I actually love you, and I actually love No Strings Attached. I didn't. I hated it. It was horrible. It was so bad. I love you, Natalie. Anyways, Greta Gerwig was in it, and I was like, wow, she's a good actress and a great director. So I'm so excited to see the Barbie movie. I did like the Mario movie more than I thought I would. I was a little worried. It was like Chris Pratt as Mario. That's kind of weird, but it was fine. It was mostly I just wanted to watch. Is it Luma, this little star, the little depressed star in Mario Party? Anyways, my queen, icon, legend, slay. Oh, what other faves do I have? Podcast, the bad broadcast. I already said that. I've also been listening to the Daily Trash. Oh my gosh, did I get it wrong? Weekly or Daily Trash. She's amazing. I love her podcast. Oh, there's my Valley girl. She's back. Ew, disgusting. Stop it. Books. Cal Newport, Deep Work. Okay. I'm going to give a favorite quote from this. I think that's what I want to do in these episodes, and give me feedback, you guys, what you like. I want to share like a favorite uplifting or motivational quote every episode. Every alone episode anyways. But I read this book, Deep Work by Cal Newport, and I'm rereading it because of how good it is. And every time I read this book, my life has changed. Like, I feel so much more happy and fulfilled when I'm actually applying these principles. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts. Everyone has a book that they say changed their life. This is the book that changes my life. Here's a quote. If you want to love what you do, abandon the passion mindset, aka what the world can offer me, and instead adopt the craftsman mindset. What can I offer the world? Cal Newport. Wait, that's not even from Deep Work. Oops. Oh, it's so good they can't ignore you, but that's also a good book. I just have a list of his quotes. Anyways, from Deep Work, this is also very applicable to my life because I started therapy for OCD. And one of my biggest struggles with OCD is prioritizing. I really have a struggle prioritizing. Like, I cannot do it. I cannot. Everything is just as important as everything else in my brain, and I don't know why. Cal Newport, Deep Work. Clarity about what matters provides clarity. Clarity about what matters provides clarity about what doesn't. I've been trying to apply that and just allow myself to prioritize the things that are most important to me, even if they're not important to other people. Like this podcast. This podcast has been so important to me, so much so that I put it off. I procrastinated. And I have been busy. I've been super busy. But when we're busy, we choose to be busy, right? And I've allowed myself to be busy with other things that may not be as important as this to me. This is important. This is something I want to do for a long time. This is something a lot of you guys have been waiting for. And I've been like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I'm going to do a podcast. It's finally here, bitches. Okay. Anyways, sorry if you have kids. We're going to pretend that this is Instagram 2017 when we all did for those who are new here, my name is so-and-so, 15 facts about me. We're going to do some facts about me, not 15 per se, but I'm an actress. I'm Monica Moore Smith. I started out as a karate kid born in Florida, but I only say that because I grew up in Utah and I want to sound different. I'm insecure. Grew up in Utah. I'm a Utah crouton, baby. I got the blonde hair. I got the fake tan. Not right now. I've scripted it all off. I got the fake lashes. I got the fake nails. I don't have Botox, but maybe someday. I'm a Utah girly. I'm just not a mom yet. I'm not in the Utah mom sphere. That's okay. I'll get there one day if I choose to. If you don't relate, keep scrolling. If you do relate, stay. I am a reformed, not like other girls, girl. My whole personality as a child was to be not like other girls. Okay? You liked Barbies? I liked Polly Pockets. Okay? You liked pink? I liked purple. Okay? You hung with the girls? I hung with the boys. And none of them liked me because you showered? I didn't. You brushed your hair? Not me. You wore makeup? No, never. Not me. Oh, I was so cringe. But I had this weird complex with like masculinity and femininity. And I think really I was just like a closeted feminine girl where clearly, like, look at me now. But when I was a child, you know what I did? I literally wrote up a tangible oath to myself on paper to never wear makeup because of how stupid I thought it was. Do you see my face? It's got makeup on it. Again, reformed, not like other girls, girl. That's me. I've changed. I've grown up. I've learned it's okay to like feminine things. And I'm still strong, even though I like girly things. Nothing wrong with that. So that's how I grew up. All right. So when I was like 4, I wanted to be a karate kid. Okay. So I got into karate, and I think some of the masculine, feminine thing got instilled in me because there was like the constant joke of like, oh, within, the karate dojo that it was like, you got beat against a girl. There was a lot of comments about me being a girl because at the time I was the only girl. I joined a Kempo martial arts class when I was 5. Like the day I turned 5, I was like, Mom, that's what I'm doing. I was determined, and I did it, and I loved it. But I was the only girl for a long time. And I think it instilled some weird things in me. And also, boys didn't like me. There was this one boy who did give me a Valentine. He gave me a little Valentine soap, and it said love on it. And it was a heart. It was teal. More like a Tiffany blue. Anyways, I don't know why I remember this so vividly, and I can't remember what day of the week it was. But this boy gave me this heart soap, and then I found out later, overhearing other conversations, that he only gave it to me because his mom made him, and he was actually really embarrassed because he didn't want me to be his Valentine. So, yeah, I didn't have daddy issues, but I had boy issues from that. So thanks a lot. I'm not going to name your name. Actually, I'm sure he's grown up and all that and stuff, and I don't actually care. But yeah, from a young age, I had some weird things instilled in me for sure from some of those experiences with the whole being the only girl in that scenario, and definitely not being an object of desire. Did karate, found this thing called theater, thought it was so cool. My sister did this show called Oklahoma, and she was like, hey, we're doing Oklahoma, and we need some more farmers and cow women in the background on stage. I'll give you some ice cream. I think that's what she said. I just remember getting ice cream. Anyways, I was like, yeah. And then I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun because you just have a bunch of adults playing pretend. They're getting paid to play pretend. This is so sick. For my Utah girlies, it was located at the Thanksgiving Point Barn. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's like a theater plus event center. Anyways, some nostalgia for you. So I did this show, and I just remember it was so magical. Still to this day, it almost makes me emotional. I'm like, it was so magical to watch all of these people older than me engaging in play. And everyone was so into it, and everyone was in character. And it was like, wow, I want to play Barbies like this. I want to play Polly Pockets like this. When I played Polly Pockets or Barbies, I was like, we're going to have a storyline. We're going to have characters, and we're going to stay in character, and it's going to be real, and it's going to be intense. No one really wanted to do that. And then I got to theater, and I was like, wow, everyone wants to do this here. This is so cool. So I found theater. And then I decided, I got really into sports and I was doing all that. But then it was like, I couldn't do both. It was too demanding to do karate, soccer, softball, fencing, throwing some tennis in there, like every sport under the sun, and do theater because theater is very demanding. So I was like, I'm going to try theater. Went to a local charter school that had a theater program. It was a performing arts school. Bunch of theater nerds. And I was like, wow, I love this. I especially loved the monologues and the acting. And then I went to good old BYU in the MDT program. And then I realized, I'm not as extroverted as everybody there. I was like, I don't think I'm I never was an extrovert. I was always very shy, but I learned to kind of be extroverted. But I was like, wow, I don't think I can keep up. And also you have to be really good vocally and dancing and acting. And I just felt like I didn't really measure up. I'm like, I'm not really competitive in the musical theater field, but I do think I can be competitive acting wise. That's my favorite thing. And I found this thing called film where I just acted. And I was like, oh, I can use my strength. And I get to do my favorite thing. I found film because I got cast through theater. I had a casting director I was doing a theater show with. And he was like, hey, do you want to be a mean girl? And I was like, yes. And then he was like, just kidding. We're casting you as a bullied girl. You're getting bullied. You're going to get bullied and traumatized in this video called Bullying Stop It. And I was like, put me in a baggy shirt. Let's go. It went viral. And then I was like, ooh, this acting thing is cool and film. And you can actually make money. A living. Let's do it. And so I was like, goodbye, school. I left school and I started trying to figure out how to make acting work full time. And so far I've done it. So far it's worked out. Here we are. And since then, I've been doing acting full time. Except while I was at BYU. While I was at BYU, I got on Tinder as a joke. Big mistake. Got on there as a joke because I thought it was just for hooking up. And I was a good girl. Okay, I didn't do that. Also, random concept. You know how this, only Utah girlies will get this. I didn't realize, I was under the assumption that everyone was no one did anything outside of marriage. So I didn't do anything outside of marriage because I was like, this is what we're supposed to do. And then I found out a bunch of people did. I was like, what? Wait, you were all crossing lines and derfing and soaking? What? I was... Anyways, I had no idea that apparently not a lot of people follow the rules. And I was such a strict rule follower, man. I was so naive. It's like, yeah, we're all following the rules. None of us have tried anything, right? Apparently a bunch of people have tried stuff. Naive me, whatever. Anyways, be proud of the choices you make, though. So if you make whatever choice, it's your choice. And I don't regret what I did, but I just had this conversation with a friend. I was like, wow, I was really naive to think that literally everyone was such a rule follower just because I was. I get naive thinking everyone thinks the way I do. So I met this boy on Tinder and we got married. And when we were dating, it was perfect and magical. And we had the most magical wedding. And then I was like, uh-oh, something doesn't feel right. Something feels off. Oh, no. But I was like, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's cool. It's fine. And then 2.5 years later, we dated for a year and then we were married for 2.5 years. Something like that. The math is fuzzy. I didn't finish school. The math is fuzzy. Not a math chick. Reading was my highest score in ACT, okay? Hence why I became an actress. So we got divorced. I filed for divorce and everyone was shocked. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, what? Because I had all these people DMing me I had all these people DMing me saying, oh, I love your marriage. It's so perfect. I can't wait to find my own blankety blank someday. Secretly me being abused behind closed doors. Secretly me behind closed doors just being like, oh no. Ooh. It's actually not working out so well. It's actually a struggle. So I got divorced. I was terrified. I know I'm talking about this flippantly, but at the time I was like, this this is the worst thing ever. I don't think I'm going to survive. I want to unalive myself, and I was not mentally stable whatsoever. We can get into all of that in a different episode. I'm speaking flippantly on it now because I don't want to get into it, but holy cow, it was a lot. But then I ended up sharing on Instagram. I wasn't planning to initially, but he decided to spread a bunch of stuff through a bunch of my followers and friends' DMs. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I gotta address this. So I made a post about it because I didn't know how many people had received a copy and paste message from him. So I just wanted to clear the air. And cleared it with a lawyer because I knew he had a lawyer, and posted it. And the rest is history. We got divorced. And ever since then, it's not something I planned at all. It's never something I thought would be in my future trajectory. But I had all these people flooding my DMs saying, how did you know you wanted a divorce? How did you know you were being abused? Once you were, how did you know it wasn't going to work out? How did you know he couldn't change? All this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not alone at all. There's so many people that feel the same thing I'm feeling. And I thought I was the only one. And I didn't realize how normal intimate partner abuse is. And started sharing my story from there, and mixed with kind of how to recover in a situation like that, how to identify it, and then also be a very career-driven, person who doesn't just want to hide and doesn't want a relationship to define the rest of their life. That I get to define my life, and I get to grow from it and learn from it and take my power back instead of sitting in the back seat and hiding. And from there, it had been a long goal of mine to start a podcast, because I just think there's so much you miss out on in the short form. So here we are in the long form, in a situation where I can give you context and nuance and other people's stories, not just my story, not just something in a long Instagram caption, but something where I can fully encompass my feelings and my thoughts on a subject. And I'm just so excited. And I'm so excited for anyone that's joined me. I'm pumped to get into this. And I don't know. Yeah, let's get into it. We have a couple segments. We're going to be doing throughout the podcast, but especially for the solo episodes, I'm going to focus more on the segments. We've got Do More, which is a Do Moore Challenge, something the OG Instagram fans remember. So excited for that one. It's all about self-improvement in small, manageable, little ways. The next thing is going to be more tea. I got some tea to share with you guys, whether that's Taylor Swift, whether that's local drama, whether that's just something that's on my mind. I got tea. And then Do More Hot Takes, which is what we're going to get into next. I'm so excited for Do More Hot Takes. I'm a huge fan of any podcast that uses the Am I an A-hole Reddit forum. I just love discussing human relationships and just talking about them, digging in and hearing both sides. And I just think it's fascinating. I'm a huge fan of Two Hot Takes. Love those girls. There's multiple podcasts I've listened to that use the Reddit forum, Am I the A-hole? And so I'm going to be doing more hot takes. And that's going to be a mix of Reddit / what you guys sent to me. So we've got a couple of those from you guys. I'm so excited. And I'm excited to get more input from you once we go live, because it's juicy. To get started with more hot takes, this is the one we've got. Am I the a-hole for having my niece's dress photoshopped because she wore white to my wedding? Sorry, I just had to get that out. This has got to be a whole other episode. I've got to make a whole other episode on weddings, because gosh, do I have so many opinions on weddings. And I feel like I'm allowed to have opinions because I got married once. This reminds me of that TikTok sound from SpongeBob. I had a spoon once. What is the sound? Anyways, I'm making this about me. But I feel like I'm allowed to have an opinion on weddings because I've experienced it. And I'm also going to have another wedding at some point when I get married again, because that's the goal. And I'm very opinionated. So let's get into the story. So I, 30 female, got married. Yay! Honestly, it was a dream wedding. Everything went off without a hitch, except for one small thing. My niece's 16-year-old dress. It was white, lacy, knee length. She even wore lace elbow length gloves. Honestly, it just looked like a wedding dress. I didn't say anything to her or her parents, my brother and sister-in-law, in a moment. And I tried my best to ignore it. But when I got to the first drafts back from our photographer, I couldn't stand when I saw her in her white dress standing next to me. My husband saw how upset I was and suggested that we pay extra to get my niece's dress photoshopped to a light blue. We thought it through, and since we had some budget left, we went for it. Well, last week, we got the final photos back, and they looked great. I could hardly even tell that my niece was originally wearing white, and she still looked really nice. I posted some of the photos on social media, and my sister-in-law messaged me and was angry that I photoshopped my niece without checking on her first. She accused me of thinking my niece was ugly and of body shaming her. To be clear, I did not have her body photoshopped, only the color of her dress and the gloves. I do not think I am in the wrong, but the situation has been stressing me out. So am I the asshole? Edit, small clarification. The picture I posted was a large group shot that my niece is in. I wasn't trying to showcase the Photoshop at all. Oh, okay. Here's the thing. The one thing that makes me question this is the niece was 16 and maybe didn't know better. But also 16-year-olds nowadays, they know a lot. They know a lot. They knew more than I did. But I'm not like an etiquette police. But when it comes to etiquette that makes sense, etiquette that prioritizes what should matter, aka don't wear white on someone else's wedding day because it's not about you. That's when I'm an etiquette police. That's when I'm going to be an etiquette Nazi, where I'm like, no, don't make it about you. It's not about you. And, have enough awareness to go, ooh, when I'm putting on an outfit for a wedding, what's the purpose of the wedding? If it's not your wedding, don't draw attention. For me, for example, if I'm going to a wedding, even if I have a dress that's technically appropriate, there's like a certain dresses that I have that I know would be really attention grabbing. I'm not going to wear those. Even if they're technically appropriate and they're not white, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to wear them because it's going to draw a lot of attention to me. And unless it's my wedding, I don't get that privilege. I'm not paying for it. Okay. I have so many opinions on weddings, and also, especially like mother-in-laws. I've had so many friends that have struggles with mother-in-laws that like want the wedding to be their wedding. I'm like, it's not your wedding. You already had one. I don't care if you're divorced. I'm divorced too. And I still can go to someone else's wedding and appreciate them. And if I can't go to their wedding and appreciate them, I'm not going to go to their wedding. Get over yourself. But this girl's 16. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to put myself back into pre-25 fully brain developed brain. Here's the thing. I don't know why the sister-in-law is freaking out. Because I'm kind of like, well, like if you had asked, I think it's like better to ask forgiveness in this situation. I'm kind of like, you shouldn't have worn a white dress. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being an a-hole. But I think it's like the sister, like why was this girl who's not an adult allowed, like who was it? The parents? Was it her sister that was like, yes, wear this white dress with white gloves to a wedding that's not yours? So I think it's really the responsibility of whoever's watching over her, where I'm like, no. And why is the sister-in-law calling her and being mad? Like, if I did that, I would not be surprised. I'm like, it's not your wedding. It's like going to a funeral and everyone's in black, and then you decide to like wear, a furry costume or something totally random that's attention grabbing. It's like, well, Have awareness. Be considerate. That's my thing. And it sounds like the sister-in-law, I don't know. I don't think you're an a-hole. I don't know what the best way to go about that would be, but I don't think you're an a-hole. Okay, next, am I the a-hole? Ooh, this one's scary. This one might be triggering. Am I the a-hole for wanting my wife to stay up during a road trip and talk to me? Wait a second. Okay. I'm writing this right now at the hotel where I'm at because I'm genuinely at a loss for words. I don't think I'm in the wrong, but at the same time, she looks really pissed at me. My wife, me, and our 2-year-old are going on our first family road trip to California. We rotate driving in shifts, but the problem is that when I'm driving, my shift fell during the night. And so I was feeling really lonely and bored as I was driving. I'm not someone who can be left on his own thoughts very well, and I need people around me. I thrive on energy and excitement. My wife is a bit of the opposite. She's generally fine with being left alone and can sit quietly for hours and hours upon end. The problem is that around 11 p.m. I was driving and my wife and son were in the back seat. I was feeling isolated, so I shook her awake. But then our son woke up and, well, you can probably guess what happens next. Once he quieted down, my wife began to quietly blow up at me about how much of a dick I was being. I told her that it wasn't fair for her to just sleep like that and made me feel like the driver. She then said she doesn't force me to stay awake or engage with her. But I told her that's a cheap blow because we're not the same people. And I kept my mouth shut while she was driving because I know she doesn't like distractions, even though it bothered me terribly. So at least she could do is stop being selfish and help keep me sane. Despite my perfectly logical answer, she apparently got emotional and then started whisper screaming some shit about how raising one toddler is hard enough and that she didn't know there's another one in the car who needed his whims catered to at every moment. And at that point, since she got rude, I decided to disengage. Now our whole trip is falling apart, and she's making me out to be the bad guy. Okay, the biggest thing with this, I understand every situation has nuance, but I hate it when people go by a double standard, and then they justify it by saying, well, your needs are different, instead of clarifying with the other person what their needs are or listening when the other person is saying what their needs are. I just see this a lot in relationships, and I've experienced this in relationships where it's like they'll do something that's a total double standard that you couldn't do to them, and then they're like, well, but you're okay with it. And it's like, I'm not okay with it. I'm more patient than you are, but it's still not okay. It's still crossing a boundary, and it still doesn't meet my needs. But I just don't react as much as you do. I can't tell from what he's saying if she truly wanted him to not talk to her or what. But it also sounds like she's managing the child. And so by waking her up, he was waking both of them up. I don't know. But something about when someone says, my perfectly logical answer. When a guy says that, it's hard for me to not discount it. I want to be fair and equal, but there's something in me that goes, no. Where I'm like, you're being unempathetic. There's something about that rings, I'm lacking complete empathy. He's like, it just sounds like the kind of guy that's like when a girl's on her period, he's like, you're not being logical. It's like, well, frick, no, I'm not, because I've got a surge of hormones running through me. Like, if you had the same experience, you would not be completely logical. Also, complete logic without empathy is also illogical. It's stupid. Yeah, I want to be like fair and balanced when I read these things, but something in me is going, feel like this is a, also with this whole thing of like, I can't be left alone with my thoughts. That's unhealthy. You should be left alone with your thoughts if you feel like you can't survive without having constant stimulus or someone in your ear all the time. Like, sit alone with your thoughts. Maybe if you sat alone with your thoughts, you wouldn't have treated your wife this way because you would have thought it through and been more empathetic and aware. Especially if she's taking on most of the emotional labor of your child. She apparently got emotional. The more I look at this, the more I get pissed off. I'm trying to be balanced, but I'm not. Here's the thing. Like, when I'm driving with someone, I do like to have someone to make sure I stay awake just for the safety of everybody. But I communicate that. And it's not just, oh, I can't be left alone with my thoughts. And, oh, I ignored you, but you need to entertain me. It's just a double standard, and I don't like double standards. We are finishing off with the last Am I the A-hole segment. This one is going to be interesting. I don't screen read these beforehand because I want it to be fresh. So we'll see, but it's not looking good. It's looking suspicious. Here's the question. Am I the a-hole for making my mom leave after she completely rearranged my apartment? I, 24 female, am in a huge fight with my mother, 56 female, right now. My sister and I have had consistent issues with my mom not respecting my boundaries or privacy, but this really sent me over the edge. Whenever my mom comes to my apartment, she will try to hang photos, coat hooks, and general decor without asking me first. I've asked her many times to stop doing this because I've worked hard on making my apartment exactly how I wanted it. And although she means really well, I really don't want her changing things without my permission. Recently, I went on vacation for 10 days. She wanted to house sit and water my plants for me while I was gone. Of course, I was super happy she was willing to do that. I did reiterate to her that I did not want her reorganizing, redecorating, or changing anything about my apartment. She laughs and tells me she won't and to stop being so dramatic. Well, I come home 2 days ago and I walk into my apartment completely turned upside down. All of my furniture is rearranged. Every single item in my apartment was now in a different spot. All of my bathroom items, art supplies, schoolwork, and my dishes are reorganized. And I still have no idea where my items are in this place. I feel like I'm in someone else's apartment. The worst part is that I have a closet where I keep my sex toys. And I thought, surely my mother must recognize some sort of line not to be crossed. Nope. She had gone through and reorganized my sex toys. I am mortified and sort of embarrassed, and it will take me weeks to put everything back where it belongs. I asked her why she would do this, and she said my apartment, quote, needed to be cleaned. I asked her why she wouldn't ask me to do this or even mention it. She told me she did a good thing and she doesn't feel bad about it. And I pretty much exploded and made her leave immediately. But I still can't help feeling bad. Maybe she really thought she was helping me, but I can't ignore the fact that I asked her repeatedly not to do this. And she feels no remorse about it. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, man. I mean, I'm never a fan of yelling. I'm very anti-escalating vocally, if at all possible. It always surprises me when I see mothers or fathers that are like lacking boundaries in regards to stuff like this and physical space and like allowing your child to be an adult. This girl is 24. Her brain's pretty much fully developed. Like, my mother would never walk into my house and start rearranging stuff. And so when I see stuff like this, I'm like, holy cow, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine. It's so beyond me how a 56-year-old woman is like, this is appropriate. As a kid, I always assumed people like grow up and learn just by age, just by aging, just by growing up. Like it happens. You just learn things and you change. But some people clearly don't. And it boggles my mind when adult parents don't even set an example of how to parent to their children. Instead, they act like children and lack any boundaries. Your child is an adult. Respect that. It'd be one thing, I'm like, I don't know what this apartment, I'm like, is your mother paying for all of it? Still don't think it's appropriate. I'm like, if you're going to pay for someone's stuff, you should still allow it to be theirs. Otherwise, don't pay for it. And I don't know what the situation is with this, but I'm like, there are some clearly lines crossed and she doesn't respect it. And it's weird too. I'm like, that's a lot of effort and time. She's like living through you in a weird way. I don't get it. You're not the a-hole. I think your mom's being... And it's weird. I'm like, it's not something she didn't know about. You've told her multiple times. Someone says here, your mom does not mean well. If she did, she would have stopped the first time you asked her to. This is very controlling. She wants your home to look the way she wants, and your feelings mean absolutely nothing to her. Don't let her come in. Meet her elsewhere and make sure she knows that it's because you don't trust her to respect your decisions about your home's appearance. Yeah, I kind of agree. It just feels controlling. I don't really get it. It's like, she can't be well intended. You've been very clear about your boundaries. Why does she feel like she can do that just because you're her daughter? Someone said to change your locks. Good advice. Yep, not the a-hole. Well, that concludes our episode for That's More Like It. I appreciated all of you joining for the first very episode. This is monumental. I'm so excited. I hope you guys loved it. And if you didn't love it, I would love some feedback. That's what I need. What do you want to see? What kind of challenges do you want to see? Who do you want to have on the podcast? What topics do you want me to discuss? There's some we touched on here with like weddings and icks and other things that just I could talk about for hours. Divorce. I don't want that to be my whole brand. I don't want that to be everything, but it's something I definitely do want to address for those still in it. If you're struggling with that, I do want to bring some therapists on here because I'm not a therapist. And I think you guys deserve to hear from a therapist, especially some good ones that I know that I'd love to connect you with. I don't know how to wrap this up other than saying, I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for following and being part of this journey. And if you're new here, thank you for starting on my journey with me. I'm excited for you guys to enjoy the next episodes. Thank you so much. That's More Like It podcast. I'll see you next time. Bye.
This was a Titan Media Collective production.